My name is Daniel Carter. I am 29 years old, and the night my girlfriend told me she was staying at another man's house, my entire life split in half. It wasn't just the text that gutted me. It was the casual tone. No apology, no explanation. Just, "I'll be staying at Jake's tonight, don't wait up." The woman I had built 4 years of my life with had chosen another man with the cold efficiency of sending a food delivery order. I stared at the message for what felt like an hour, though the clock said 2 minutes. My hands trembled. My chest burned. For a moment, I thought maybe it was a joke, a prank. But her pattern of late-night excuses, work drinks, that stretched past midnight, and sudden secrecy around her phone, it all connected. And Jake. Of course it had to be Jake. Jake was my cousin, family by blood, but a parasite by nature. He was slick, always chasing shortcuts, and had a way of worming himself into places he didn't belong. As kids, he'd steal from my backpack. As adults, he borrowed money without returning it. My girlfriend, Melissa, knew all this. Or maybe she didn't care. The betrayal doubled because it wasn't just her. It was him. Family. I remember one Christmas when Jake was 17 and I was 16. He opened a gift, an expensive leather jacket. Without asking, he tossed it on me and said, "Wear it, man. You'll make it look better than me." I smiled, thinking it was generosity. Hours later, I found out he'd stolen it from a mall. He let me take the blame when his mom found the missing tags. That was Jake. Always calculating, always escaping the fallout. Now he'd escaped right into my girlfriend's bed. The anger didn't explode all at once. It simmered. Like water heating to a boil, each second of silence from her after the text added pressure. She didn't even bother following up. Didn't ask how I felt. Didn't care. I typed back with fingers steadier than I expected. "Thanks for letting me know." That was it. No begging. No fighting. No questions. Then I stood up, walked into our bedroom, and stared at the closet we had shared. Her clothes lined the left side, silk blouses, dresses with tags still dangling, winter coats I'd bought during a Black Friday sale, and the heels she claimed were just for special occasions. Special occasions, apparently, included sleeping with my cousin. One by one, I pulled every piece off the hangers. Folded them neatly, not for her, but for myself. I wanted the act to feel deliberate, controlled. I filled box after box, stacking them against the wall. Her perfumes, her jewelry trays, even the ridiculous his and hers robes she bought last Valentine's Day. I packed them all. With each item sealed away, I felt lighter. By midnight, my truck was loaded. 20 boxes of her life sat in the back, rattling gently as I drove across town. Jake lived in a condo he barely paid for, half covered by his mother after he blew through his savings. When I pulled up, the street was quiet. A single light glowed in his second-floor window. My jaw tightened. I carried each box up the stairs and set them against his door. Dress shoes clinked against jewelry cases. A robe dangled out of one box like a flag. By the time I placed the last box down, the hallway smelled like her perfume. It made me sick. I stood there, staring at the mountain of her possessions blocking his door, and felt something cold and final click into place inside me. No yelling. No confrontation. No threats. Just this. When she came home, she'd see everything waiting. And she'd know I knew. Driving back, I thought about my father. He'd passed 3 years ago, leaving me the house I lived in now. He always warned me about Jake. That boy will take everything if you let him. I never imagined he'd be right in this way. My mom still lived 2 towns over. She called me every Sunday like clockwork. My younger sister, Emily, was the only one who believed in me without conditions. She taught elementary school, and she'd always tease me about being too forgiving. Forgiving. Maybe that had been my flaw. Melissa's betrayal cut deeper because my family had seen it coming. At Thanksgiving, Emily pulled me aside and whispered, "Are you sure about her?" I saw the way she looked at Jake. I brushed it off, embarrassed. Now those words carved through my brain like glass. When I got home, the house felt too quiet. Her toothbrush was still in the bathroom. Her coffee mug on the counter. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chair across from me, and realized I wasn't sad. Not anymore. I was furious. Furious enough to start thinking. If you're watching this, drop a comment below, hit like, and subscribe, because what happened next wasn't just about a girlfriend cheating. It was about family, betrayal, and the kind of revenge you never forget. I didn't sleep that night. I kept imagining the scene when she got back. She'd pull into the driveway, see the empty closet, panic, then rush to Jake's. She'd climb the stairs, heart racing, only to find 20 boxes blocking his door like a barricade. And then, at 3 in the morning, my phone would light up. Melissa's name. The call came exactly when I expected. 3 rings. 4. Then silence. She tried again. This time, I let it buzz until the voicemail picked up. Her voice cracked, desperate. "Daniel, what the hell? Why are my things at Jake's? Please pick up. Please. I can explain." Explain. As if there was any explanation that would erase that text. I deleted the voicemail without listening to the rest. But revenge, I realized, couldn't stop at boxing her up and dumping her at Jake's. Not when Jake was involved. He'd think he'd won. That he'd taken her, taken my dignity, and maybe even wormed his way toward the inheritance my father left me. He'd always had eyes on it. He once joked at a barbecue, "Man, if Daniel screws up, maybe Aunt Clara will leave me the house too." Everyone laughed. Except me. Now, with Melissa on his arm, Jake would think he had leverage. He'd think he could stand in my shoes. And that's when the next stage of my plan began forming. I wasn't going to scream or fight. I was going to dismantle them, piece by piece. The night turned into dawn. Sunlight bled across the living room. I sat in my father's old chair, hands clasped, replaying every lie Melissa ever told me. The time she said she had girls' night, but came home smelling like cologne. The day Jake stopped by unannounced, and she blushed too hard at his jokes. The sudden defensiveness whenever I mentioned family get-togethers. Every detail stacked up like kindling. And now the match had been lit. By the time my sister Emily called that morning, I had a plan. "Hey," she said softly. "How are you?" "I'm done being stupid," I told her. "It's time Jake learns he can't take what's mine." The morning after Melissa's 3 a.m. panic call, I felt different, clearer, sharper. The kind of clarity you only get when there's no more illusion left to protect. I showered, dressed, and brewed black coffee strong enough to peel paint. As the steam curled, I thought about how to move forward. Not with forgiveness, not with begging, but with precision. By 9 a.m., my phone buzzed nonstop. Melissa had tried calling 8 more times. Texts lit up the screen. "Daniel, please talk to me." It wasn't what it looked like. Jake was just helping me with something. Helping. That word almost made me laugh. I ignored her, but each ping confirmed something important. She was already losing control. For years, she thought she held the strings. Now the strings were mine. Around noon, I drove to my mom's place. She opened the door, eyes squinting against the sunlight. "Danny? You look like hell." "I didn't sleep," I admitted. She didn't even ask why. Mothers know. She simply hugged me, tight and long, then led me inside. The smell of cinnamon rolls hit me, and for a moment I felt like a kid again. Emily showed up an hour later, her school bag slung over her shoulder. She must have left class early. Her eyes darted to me. "You know, don't you?" "Yeah," I said. Her lips pressed into a thin line. "I warned you." I nodded. "You did. And now I'm done pretending." Jake wasn't at the family gathering that weekend, but whispers of his new relationship spread fast. Aunt Clara, his mother, bragged about how Jake finally found someone stable. Stable. If only she knew the text Melissa sent me. At the dinner table, my uncle leaned over and whispered, "Heard Jake's been spending a lot of time with your girlfriend. You okay with that?" I sipped my drink and said nothing. Silence is heavier than words. It makes people uncomfortable. Melissa wasn't there either, which told me all I needed to know. She was probably holed up at Jake's, pretending their betrayal wasn't obvious. That night, I sat on my porch with Emily. The cicadas buzzed, and the stars felt too bright. She broke the silence. "What are you going to do?" I thought about it. Dad always said Jake would try to take what wasn't his. Now he thinks he's got Melissa and maybe even my place in the family. But he doesn't realize, he just gave me the high ground. Emily tilted her head. Meaning? I'm not going to fight him in the open. I'm going to make sure everyone sees him for what he is. And Melissa too. The opportunity came faster than I expected. Melissa texted again the next day. Can we talk? Please. Just hear me out. I typed back, sure. Tonight. At my place. I wanted her to walk into the house she no longer had keys to feel the weight of absence in every corner. When she arrived, she knocked, hesitant, almost embarrassed. I opened the door without smiling. Her eyes flicked around the living room. The walls were bare of her paintings, the couch free of her throw pillows. She shifted uneasily. Daniel, it's not what you think. I leaned against the frame. So you didn't text me saying you were staying at Jake's? She stammered. I was upset. We had an argument, and Jake offered a couch. That's all. Right, I said. And all those late nights? The secretive phone calls. Her cheeks flushed. It wasn't like that. Then why did you call me 8 times at 3 in the morning, panicking? She opened her mouth, then closed it. I stepped aside, letting silence press her down. Finally I said, your things are at Jake's. That's where they belong now. She flinched. Daniel, please. Don't do this. You can't just throw away 4 years. I didn't, I said coldly. You did. As she left, tears in her eyes, I felt no pity. Only resolve. Because the real battle wasn't with her, it was with Jake. Jake called me 3 days later. His voice was smug, casual. Hey man, Melissa's here. Thought you should know she's doing okay. The audacity made my knuckles whiten. You think you've won, Jake? He chuckled. Won what? She chose me. It's not my fault you couldn't keep her. That was Jake. Always twisting the knife. Always rewriting history to favor himself. Enjoy it while it lasts, I told him. Because sooner or later, everyone will see you for who you are. He laughed, then hung up. But I knew I'd struck a nerve. The next weekend, the family gathered again. This time, Jake and Melissa walked in together, hand in hand. My mother's lips tightened. Emily shook her head in disgust. Jake strutted like he owned the place, whispering to relatives, smiling too wide. Melissa avoided my eyes. Then came the inheritance bomb. Aunt Clara, after one too many glasses of wine, leaned across the table and said, you know, Daniel, maybe it's time you let go of that house. Jake and Melissa could use a place to start fresh. The table went silent. I set down my fork. My father left that house to me. Jake has no claim to it. Jake smirked. We're family, man. Don't be selfish. I stared at him, voice low but sharp. Family doesn't steal what isn't theirs. The air crackled. People shifted in their chairs. The tension was palpable. That night, I started gathering evidence. Not of Melissa's betrayal, I didn't need that, but of Jake's lies. The unpaid debts. The shady deals. The way he skimmed money from Aunt Clara's bank account when he promised to help with her bills. I still had old texts, receipts, even witnesses. And if Jake wanted to play house with Melissa, fine. I'd let him. But I'd make sure everyone else saw the truth. Because revenge isn't always fire and fury. Sometimes, it's patience. Sometimes, it's letting your enemy dig his own grave while you quietly hand him the shovel. That's where I was headed, toward exposing Jake, stripping away his mask, and making sure Melissa realized what she'd traded me for. And when the reckoning came, it wouldn't just be about a relationship. It would be about family honor, about legacy, about showing everyone that I wasn't the fool they thought I was. The night after that family dinner, I sat at my desk surrounded by papers, receipts, and old texts. Years of Jake's schemes, small betrayals, and financial sins, all of it had been piling up in my files, like I'd been waiting for this moment without even realizing it. Melissa had chosen him, but she'd chosen a sinking ship. I remembered one summer years back, when Jake convinced me to co-sign a loan for his business idea. A car wash, he said. Within 6 months, the place shut down. He disappeared, leaving me holding the debt. I spent a year clawing out of that hole while he charmed everyone at family barbecues. Now I had proof of it all. And this time, I wasn't going to be the one left paying. The first step was subtle. I started talking to family, cousins, uncles, even Aunt Clara, dropping careful hints. Strange, isn't it, how Jake always seems to come out on top no matter who pays the price? I'd say with a shrug. They'd frown, nod, but not say much. Seeds planted. The second step was direct. I called Emily. I need your help. She showed up with her laptop, eyes sharp. Let's bury him. Together, we compiled a binder. Unpaid loans. Shady text messages. Even a letter from a neighbor who caught Jake borrowing tools and never returning them. It wasn't just evidence. It was a story. And people believe stories. The moment to strike came at the next family gathering. My mom's birthday. Everyone was there. Jake, Melissa, Aunt Clara, cousins, uncles. The dining room buzzed with chatter, cake on the counter, laughter bouncing off the walls. I waited until the table was full, plates clinking, forks moving. Then I cleared my throat. I need to say something. All eyes turned. Jake, I said evenly, since you and Melissa are together now, I think the family deserves to know the kind of man she's chosen. Jake smirked. Oh, here we go. I set the binder on the table with a heavy thud. Pages spread open like a trial exhibit. Unpaid debts, I said, tapping the first page. Loans you never repaid. Money you borrowed from me, from Aunt Clara, from anyone stupid enough to trust you. Whispers rippled. I flipped to the next. Skimmed checks from Aunt Clara's account. Text messages where you admit it. And here, letters from neighbors who caught you stealing. Melissa's face went pale. Jake's smirk faltered. You think you've won something by stealing my girlfriend? My voice was steady cold. All you've done is tie yourself to a sinking ship. The room went silent. Even the forks stopped moving. Aunt Clara shook her head slowly. Jake, tell me this isn't true. But Jake had no words. His face twisted with fury, but nothing came out. That was the turning point. Melissa pulled her hand away from his under the table. Her eyes darted between me and the binder, realization dawning too late. She whispered, Daniel? I didn't know. I almost laughed. Didn't know or didn't want to know? Tears welled in her eyes. Jake slammed his fist against the table, but the damage was done. Everyone saw him for what he was. That night, Melissa showed up at my house. Her makeup streaked, her voice trembling. Daniel, I made a mistake. Please, can we talk? I thought Jake was different. I thought he cared. I cut her off. You thought wrong. You made your choice the moment you sent that text. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. You don't get to come back now. Not after the lies, not after the betrayal. Her tears fell, but I felt nothing. Not anger, not longing. Just a hollow calm. She left without another word. Jake tried calling me too, later that week. His voice was venom. You think you're clever? You think this makes you better than me? No, I said. It just makes me free. Then I hung up. Life moved forward. Slowly but with peace. Melissa drifted out of the family orbit, ashamed and unwelcome. Jake's reputation never recovered. His schemes dried up once no one trusted him with $1. Aunt Clara kept her distance, embarrassed by the son she'd defended for years. And me? I rebuilt. Emily came by often, checking on me, reminding me that family could still mean something. My mother, though saddened by the feud, told me one night over coffee, your father would be proud. You stood your ground without lowering yourself to their level. For the first time in months, I believed her. The scars remained, of course. Every so often, I'd walk past the empty side of the closet and remember the night it all collapsed. The text. The boxes. The drive to Jake's. But instead of pain, I felt power. Because I didn't just survive the betrayal, I turned it back on them. If you're watching this, have you ever faced betrayal? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Some nights, I sit on the porch where my father once smoked his evening cigars. The crickets sing, the stars burn above, and I think about choices. Melissa chose Jake. Jake chose deceit. And I chose myself. That choice saved me. Now, whenever I hear my phone buzz in the middle of the night, I smile. Because I'll never again let someone else's betrayal dictate my worth. And if Jake or Melissa ever try to crawl back into my life, they'll find the door locked, the lights off, and the house still standing strong. Because some things can't be stolen. Sometimes the coldest revenge is peace.